All right, let's dive into something pretty interesting today, the idea of belonging in a religious context. We're going to be unpacking a talk called The Doctrine of Belonging.
Okay.
It was given by Elder Todd Christofferson. He's a leader in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and this talk was part of their general conference back in October 2022.
Oh, okay.
It's like a big global gathering where leaders share their messages.
I see.
One thing that stood out to me was how Christofferson tackles diversity head-on, especially as the church is expanding globally.
It's a really timely topic, and I think it's interesting how he frames diversity as like a natural outcome of the church's mission to gather people from all nations. He uses this metaphor of a gospel net.
I love that. That was really vivid.
It really paints this picture,
So it really emphasizes how global the church is becoming.
It's definitely not just a North American thing anymore. I mean, he points out the church is getting close to its 200th anniversary.
Wow.
And in that time, it's become incredibly diverse.
Yeah.
And he even quotes Joseph Smith,
Okay.
who's the founder of the church.
Right.
And he foresaw this global gathering.
Wow.
Way back in the 1800s.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's remarkable.
But he doesn't just gloss over the challenges
right.
that come with that kind of diversity.
No, for sure.
You've got people from all these different backgrounds and cultures. It's bound to create some friction.
Absolutely. And he addresses it directly.
Yeah.
He addresses issues like racism and prejudice.
Right.
And makes it very clear that there's absolutely no place for that in the church.
Right. He's very clear about that.
Very clear, yeah. He actually quotes a really powerful statement from the Lord.
Oh, okay.
Be one, and if you are not one, ye are not mine.
Wow.
So it's not even just like a suggestion.
It's a commandment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. It really emphasizes how important unity is within the church.
Very much so. And, you know, I think that resonates even outside of a religious context, right? The idea that we need each other.
Totally.
He emphasizes that as the church becomes more diverse, that welcoming feeling has to be even more spontaneous and genuine.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's such a valuable insight for any community, right?
Yeah.
We all want to feel like we belong.
Right.
Like we're accepted for who we are.
Right. You want to feel valued.
Yeah. And it's so essential for our well-being.
Yeah.
Whether it's physically, mentally, or spiritually. Sometimes, though, let's be honest, we feel like we don't quite fit in. It's so easy to compare ourselves to others and feel like we're coming up short. So I wonder how Christofferson addresses that when we feel like we're on the outside looking in.
Well, he has a really interesting point about expectations.
Okay.
And how those feelings of not belonging sometimes come from unrealistic expectations.
Wow.
Either imposed by others or even the ones that we put on ourselves.
Right, yeah.
We might feel like we need to achieve certain things or hold certain positions to really feel like we belong.
That really resonates with me. You think about things like social media, right?
Yeah.
And the pressure to present this perfect image.
All the time, yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in that.
Oh, yeah.
And feel like, oh, I'm not measuring up.
Do I need the perfect family?
Yeah.
The perfect house? The perfect career?
Yeah, to really belong.
Yeah.
Right. And it's almost like Christofferson is offering this powerful reminder.
Yeah, he says, God doesn't measure our worth based on outward achievements or appearances.
Right.
And he even quotes scripture.
Okay.
The Lord looketh on the heart.
It's about what's going on inside, our intentions.
Yeah.
Not just the external stuff. It can be hard to remember that sometimes.
It is. You know, he illustrates this with a story.
Okay.
A personal story shared by a woman named Jody King.
And it's a really powerful example of how you can wrestle with these feelings of not belonging.
Yeah.
Even within a church community.
Yeah.
She talks about her own struggles with infertility.
Oh, wow.
And how, for a while, going to church actually became painful for her.
Oh, wow.
Because it just highlighted what she was lacking.
I can imagine that would be so difficult.
It was. She even admitted that there was this Sunday school lesson she attended, and the women were all kind of complaining about the challenges of motherhood.
Yeah.
And for her, you know, it was just this painful reminder of what she was longing for but couldn't have.
Yeah.
And she ended up leaving church that day and didn't want to go back.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. But she did eventually go back, right?
Because she did.
Okay.
And I think it's a really important part of the story because she realized that her sense of belonging shouldn't hinge on just one aspect of her life.
Right.
Even one as significant as motherhood. So what was it that helped her overcome those feelings?
It was the realization that everyone is carrying their own burdens, their own struggles, even if we don't see them.
Right.
On the surface. She actually went on to list all of these different experiences that are represented in the church.
Okay.
People who are widowed, divorced, single, facing financial hardships, health issues.
Right.
Those experiencing same-sex attraction.
Right.
The list just goes on and on. And it's just this reminder that belonging is not about fitting into this narrow mold.
It's about being authentically yourself.
Exactly. With all your complexities. And as Jody emphasizes, the Savior invites everyone to come unto him, regardless of their circumstances.
I love that.
We come to church not only for ourselves, but to minister to others who might be struggling, who might feel like they don't belong.
And that's a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
That it's not just about receiving support, but it's also about offering it to others as well.
Right. But sometimes that's easier said than done.
It is. It can be hard to reach out when you're feeling vulnerable yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's where Christofferson reminds us that the church and its leaders are there to help us.
Yeah.
To help us become more Christ-like, to help us overcome our weaknesses and to grow. It's kind of ironic, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Sometimes people feel like they don't belong in the very place that's designed to help them grow.
It's true.
And to become their best selves.
It's like avoiding the hospital because you're afraid of getting sick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he's urging us to push past those fears, to set aside judgment, and focus on loving and supporting one another. True belonging starts with extending grace to others.
Yes.
And recognizing that everyone is on their own unique journey.
Absolutely.
We don't all have to be in the same place or follow in the same path to be valued, to be accepted.
Yeah.
That's so powerful, and it really resonates with me. It's a reminder that belonging isn't something that we achieve, it's something that we create.
Yes.
Within ourselves and within our communities. But Christofferson doesn't stop there.
No.
He connects this idea of belonging to our actions, to our service, even to our willingness to sacrifice.
That's a good point.
And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait. Welcome back to our deep dive into Elder Christofferson's talk on the doctrine of belonging.
Yeah.
In that last section, we were talking about how important it is to be your authentic self, you know, even with your struggles and imperfections, and how that ties into belonging.
Yeah.
But now Christofferson kind of takes it a step further. It's not just about being yourself, it's about what you do with that self.
I'm intrigued. What does he mean by that?
Well, he brings up this idea that focusing too much on our own needs and our own comfort can actually make us feel less connected, less like we belong.
Really? That's so counterintuitive. You would think that prioritizing your own well-being would make you feel more secure, more content.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But he suggests that true belonging comes from shifting that focus outward towards serving others and making sacrifices.
So it's not about seeking comfort and ease, but about embracing challenges. And even discomfort for the sake of a greater good.
He's kind of pushing back against this, I don't know, maybe cultural obsession with self-preservation and comfort-seeking.
I think that's a great point,
He even quotes this author, Rod Dreher, who had a conversation with this young mother in Budapest. And this woman observed that many in her generation view things like marital arguments or even like the challenges of parenting as forms of oppression.
Wow, so they see any form of difficulty or discomfort as something to be avoided at all costs.
It seems that way,
Wow.
And Christofferson suggests that this mindset can actually make it really difficult to form deep, meaningful connections with other people.
Interesting.
And he contrasts this with the attitude of early church pioneers who faced these immense hardships and sacrifices.
You think about those pioneers crossing the plains.
Exactly.
And covered wagons. I mean, they endured so much.
I really did.
But he's saying that those experiences, rather than pushing people apart, actually brought them closer together.
It created this bond.
Yeah.
You know, when you work together towards a common goal and you're enduring those hardships side by side, you find strength in that shared commitment.
Makes me think of that saying, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Oh, that's a great connection. It's like he's saying that belonging is not something that we passively receive. It's something we actively create. through our choices and actions.
We have these two contrasting models then.
Yeah.
One that prioritizes individual comfort and the avoidance of hardship.
Right.
And another one that embraces shared sacrifice and service as a path to belonging.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, which model is more prevalent in our society today?
That is the question.
Yeah.
That's something for us all to think about.
Are we more inclined to seek comfort and ease, or are we willing to embrace challenges and sacrifices for something bigger than ourselves?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And where do we see those models playing out in our own lives, in our families, our communities?
Right.
And if Christofferson is right, that willingness to sacrifice might be the key to unlocking a deeper sense of belonging.
Not just in a religious community, but in any group or organization we're a part of.
That's a good point.
It's a powerful idea.
It is.
And I think it sets the stage perfectly for this final part of his talk.
Okay.
Where he ties everything together by focusing on the role of Jesus Christ in this whole doctrine of belonging.
I couldn't agree more.
What do you think?
And it's in this last section that we really get to the heart of what it means to belong.
Right.
Not just to a group, but to something much greater than ourselves.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground already talking about creating a sense of belonging in a diverse community and challenging the idea that prioritizing our comfort always brings connection. But now we're getting to what Christofferson sees as the core of it all.
This is where it gets really profound. He says belonging isn't just about finding your tribe, your community. It's about connecting to something much bigger than all of us.
So it's not about fitting in, but something more.
Exactly. He says joining the church just for the social part isn't enough. There's a deeper purpose.
Okay.
He talks about how we join the church for ordinances and covenants.
Okay.
You know, those sacred rituals and promises that connect us to God and help us grow. It's about aligning with something eternal, something divine.
It reminds me of that saying, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, but spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes. And Christofferson emphasizes that true belonging comes from our relationship with Jesus Christ.
So how does Christ tie into all of this?
Well, think back to what we talked about earlier, sacrifice and service. He points out that Jesus is the ultimate example of both. He came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life for us.
That's the ultimate act of selflessness.
Absolutely. And Christofferson quotes President Nelson, who talks about how the covenants we make create this bond with God.
Okay.
It's not just about membership, it's about a deep personal relationship.
So if I'm understanding this right, true belonging is not about finding your place in a group, but finding your place in eternity.
You got it. And he leaves us with this thought. Jesus Christ died for me. He thought me worthy of his blood. He loves me and can make all the difference in my life.
It really makes you think, what sacrifices am I willing to make to strengthen my sense of belonging? What can I change to connect more with that divine source of love and acceptance? If Christofferson is right, embracing those sacrifices, even the difficult ones, might just be the key to true belonging, not just in this life, but forever. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
We'll see you in the next one.